What really happened in that split second after the water hit? No one in the crowd was ready for it. One moment, the stage was filled with laughter and playful energy, and the next, everything shifted. As Jin splashed water straight toward Jungkook, the droplets exploded under the lights. But it wasn't the splash that stunned fans, it was Jungkook's expression. His face tightened, his gaze sharpened, and for a brief second, the entire atmosphere turned intense. The crowd went from cheering to gasping, phones shooting up to capture every frame. Was it real anger? Was it part of the show? Or did something unexpected just happen in front of thousands of people? That exact moment is now going viral everywhere, with fans replaying it over and over, trying to decode what they just witnessed. Because what happened next, no one saw coming. The moment didn't fade, it deepened. What looked like a simple splash turned into something far more intense as the energy on stage shifted in a way no one could ignore. Jungkook stood there for a heartbeat longer than expected, water dripping from his face and clothes, his expression still unreadable but undeniably charged. The playful rhythm of the performance seemed to pause in the minds of the audience, even if the music never actually stopped. Fans closest to the stage began reacting first, their excitement mixed with confusion, trying to process whether this was part of a planned interaction or a moment that slipped out of control. Cameras zoomed in, capturing every angle, every micro-expression, every subtle movement. The tension built not because of what was happening, but because of what might happen next. Meanwhile, Jin didn't immediately step back. That detail alone fueled speculation. His posture remained relaxed, almost teasing, but there was a split-second flicker in his eyes that didn't go unnoticed by the most attentive fans. It was the kind of moment that lives between intention and reaction, where interpretation becomes everything. As seconds passed, Jungkook finally moved, but not in the way many expected. Instead of immediately retaliating or breaking character, he held on to that intense aura, letting the silence of anticipation stretch just enough to pull everyone deeper into the moment. The crowd's energy rose again, louder this time, as if urging a resolution, a response, something definitive. Online, the moment had already begun to explode. Clips circulated within minutes, slowed down, zoomed in, analyzed frame by frame. Fans debated endlessly, pointing out the exact instant his expression changed, the angle of his head, the tightening of his jaw. Some insisted it was pure performance brilliance, a deliberate escalation meant to electrify the stage. Others believed there was something more genuine beneath it, a rare crack in the polished surface of a global performance. But what made the moment unforgettable wasn't just the splash or the reaction, it was the uncertainty. The fact that no one could say with absolute confidence what they had just witnessed turned a few seconds into something far bigger. It became a story, a mystery, a viral sensation fueled by emotion and speculation. As the performance continued, the chemistry between them didn't disappear, it transformed. That single act added a layer of unpredictability that made every movement afterward feel more intense, more meaningful. Fans weren't just watching anymore, they were searching for clues, reading into gestures, expressions, and timing. By the end of the night, one thing was clear. This wasn't just another concert moment. It was the kind of scene that lingers, that gets replayed long after the lights go out. And even as the music faded, the question remained stronger than ever. What really happened in that moment? And was it ever meant to feel this real? The aftermath refused to settle. Even as the performance pushed forward with its high-energy choreography and perfectly timed transitions, something invisible lingered in the air, threading through every movement on stage. Jungkook no longer looked like he was simply performing. There was a sharpened focus in his eyes, a controlled intensity that made every step feel heavier, more deliberate, as if he was channeling something deeper than routine. Across from him, Jin maintained composure, but the dynamic had clearly shifted. The earlier ease between them had transformed into something charged, something that drew attention even from those seated farthest from the stage. It wasn't confrontation, not exactly, but it wasn't purely playful anymore either. It existed somewhere in between, and that ambiguity became the center of everything. The audience felt it. The screams didn't die down, but they changed tone, layered now with curiosity and anticipation. Phones stayed raised, not wanting to miss even a fraction of what might unfold next. Every glance between them became a moment worth capturing, every small movement magnified under thousands of eyes. It was no longer just a concert, it had turned into a narrative playing out in real time. Then came the subtle shifts. Jungkook's movements grew sharper, his expressions more controlled, almost as if he was holding something back while still giving everything to the performance. There was a moment where the lights hit his face just right, highlighting the lingering traces of water, and for a split second, it looked like the intensity softened, but only slightly, only enough to make the audience question what they were really seeing. Jin, on the other hand, began to mirror that energy in a quieter way. Not through overt reactions, but through timing slowing just enough in certain beats, aligning his presence with Jungkook's in a way that felt intentional. It was as if both of them were aware of the moment's impact and were now shaping it together, turning unpredictability into something almost cinematic. Backstage cameras, fan edits, and social media clips began dissecting everything in real time. The moment of the splash became just the beginning. People pointed out how quickly the mood shifted, how the atmosphere tightened, how the interaction didn't resolve in a simple or obvious way. The lack of clear closure became the reason it spread so fast, because it left room for interpretation, for emotion, for endless replay. And yet, the most compelling part wasn't what was visible, it was what remained just out of reach. The unspoken tension, the unanswered question, the feeling that something real had briefly surfaced in the middle of a perfectly controlled performance. It made the entire stage feel more human, more unpredictable, more alive. As the show moved toward its final moments, the energy didn't fade, it evolved. The earlier intensity settled into something quieter, but no less powerful, like an echo that refused to disappear. Jungkook's expression, though no longer as sharp, still carried that lingering depth, while Jin's presence stayed steady, almost grounding the moment without fully resolving it. By the time the lights dimmed and the final notes faded into the night, fans were left with more than just memories, they were left with a mystery that didn't feel accidental. Something had shifted, even if only for a few seconds, and those seconds became the most talked about part of the entire night. And as clips continued to circulate, gaining millions of views within hours, one question kept resurfacing, louder each time it was asked: was that moment ever just a performance, or did it reveal something no one was meant to see? The silence after the final note didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a pause before something else, something unseen, continued to unfold beyond the stage. Long after the lights dimmed, the image of Jungkook standing there, soaked and intense, refused to leave the minds of those who witnessed it. It replayed not just as a moment, but as a question that refused to resolve. Clips spread faster than anyone could track. Each version slowed down, sharpened, reframed. Every fraction of a second became evidence. Fans began noticing details that weren't obvious at first glance: the way Jungkook's shoulders tensed before he even reacted, the precise timing of the splash, the almost imperceptible shift in Jin expression right after it happened. These weren't just random observations anymore, they became pieces of a puzzle that no one could fully assemble. Speculation turned into theories, and theories turned into debates that dominated timelines across platforms. Some believed the entire moment was a masterclass in performance, an intentional disruption designed to heighten emotional engagement. Others insisted there was something too raw, too immediate to be scripted. The uncertainty only fueled the obsession, pulling more people into the conversation with every passing hour.